I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. And I'll say hello to everybody. I am tuning in live from Iceland. And it is a cool place. And I wish my wife was here. My wife is joining me for another Pillow Talk tonight. And how you doing today, baby?
I'm doing great. What time is it there?
It is actually like 1:15 in the morning, but it's only
8 o'clock.
8:14 where you live, which is
Mhm.
kind of nuts, kind of crazy, right? Kind of crazy. Big time switch. And by the way, everybody, as you come in, please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. I want to remind everybody real quick, you are watching Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I'm your friendly neighborhood finance professor. My wife, Dr. Alicia, is a licensed therapist and a full professor of social work. And we do Pillow Talks to allow us to have intelligent conversations and fun conversations about interesting things that are happening in the Black community. But we like to elevate and kind of talk about some things that in a way that helps us learn, helps us grow. I mean, we are college professors. We're supposed to be teaching somebody, right? Right. Let me ask y'all a question. First of all, shout out your city. Before I even ask that question, I want to greet everybody. So Dylan Marks, Dylan out of Houston, Justin Pender, Jerry Early out of LA, Big D. How you doing? Am I Big D or I'm not Big? My name only started D. Justin Pender, New York City. Jermaine Trusty, Camden, New Jersey. Khaled from Buffalo. You're gonna be getting snow in about a week. Let's see here. I see Bridget Hunter. Good to see you. Put your B1s in the chat. And let's get it cracking. Let's get started here. So, how many of you, give me a yes or no? Give me a yes or no to this question. How many of you heard about this crazy lawsuit with Lizzo? Lizzo is involved in a lawsuit that is pretty messy. It is, some would say, a little bit embarrassing because it's so there's some nasty allegations being tossed around. And how many of you saw this? It's become kind of like national news. A lot of people are discussing it, and I was curious to know what intelligent Black people think. And there's also a lesson. There's always something beneath the main topic that's worth discussing. If it's not there, we're not even gonna talk about it. So, how many of you saw what was going on here with this lawsuit? Daniel says yes. Stacey Owens says yes. Let's see. I see Jackie out of North Carolina. James Keller, good to see you. Jerry Early says no. Q Sosa says I haven't seen it. Okay, just hearing this as Lady Shay. All right. Well, here's what happened. So Lizzo is basically being sued because there are dancers who are allegedly claiming that she allegedly, you got to say allegedly because it's a lawsuit. People say things, whatever, but they're claiming that she isn't quite the person that everybody thinks she is. And of course, but that's what they always say in lawsuits. They always say, you're terrible, you're a crook, you did horrible things. And more specifically, they are basically kind of saying that she and her team were just abusive toward some of the dancers that she performed with. That she was, I guess, kind of doing some things that I saw the word harassment used a lot. They said three former backup dancers alleged in a lawsuit the singer created a hostile work environment and pressured staff at after parties. Three of Lizzo's tour dancers have accused the singer of sexual harassment and of creating a hostile work environment through sexual, racial, and religious harassment in several incidents between 2021 and 2023, according to a lawsuit filed Tuesday. The dancers also alleged that Lizzo, known as an advocate for body positivity and self-love, criticized a dancer's recent weight gain. So they're accusing Lizzo of body shaming, which is kind of crazy that she'd be accused of something like that. Now, without me over talking that issue right there, I want to go back to my wonderful wife and ask her, what are your thoughts on this in terms of when you first heard about this lawsuit?
I got a bunch of different thoughts, and I have a bunch of different angles of looking at it. And I thought when you go on tour, it was supposed to be a wild, crazy time. I thought that's why we look up to rock stars and performers, because it's not going to be a professional place where we got, where we have EEOC and we got all of this stuff. It's almost like entertainers are in this space where there are no rules and everything is run amok. And I don't know, I'm thinking about like the 80s and how you know, it was just like a wild, crazy time as a rock star. So going on tour, I thought it was supposed to be just insane, drugs and sex and women and men everywhere, and you know that's my impression. So it sounds like, yeah, that sounds like a typical concert. But I think now we're getting into the age of, we kind of need to bring it in a little bit, because we're going to out you. We're going to talk about what happens behind closed doors. And remember, who are the roadies? Remember, who are the people that, like, they're like fans and they love you and they just go on tour with you, and it's nothing but cocaine everywhere. I mean, you know, it's like crazy stuff, right? Crazy stuff happens. And then they're old and they reminisce about what happened in the 60s and 70s when things are kind of crazy. So it just seemed like, to me, this was like, yeah, it's a crazy time when you're on the road. That's just my initial thoughts. I got other thoughts, but I'll leave it there.
Well, I'll tell you what, and I'll read more details of the
Groupies,
lawsuit.
yeah. Go
Yeah, the
ahead.
groupies. Yeah, I'm gonna read more of the details of the lawsuit because I think it's just out of fairness. I think that it's important to kind of think through some of the details, and then also really, it's not about sort of talking about what's going on with the celebrity. I think it's worth discussing some of the problems that. Like this is something I predicted. It wasn't like I would have predicted it because I'm super smart or anything like that. I would have predicted it just because of the position that Lizzo is in. I think Lizzo's in a really tough spot. I think that when you are presented to the world as an advocate for some oppressed group of people and a traumatized group of people, I think there's a good chance you could be eaten by the people that you are protecting, right? You're helping take care of lions in your house, and one day one of the lions gets mad and decides he wants to have you for dinner. And what I mean by that is, when I was reading through the suit, it's an easy target in the sense of kind of saying, I'm mad at Lizzo. Maybe Lizzo fired me. I think a couple of the dancers have been fired or something like that. So I'm going to not just sue her, but I'm going to try to destroy her by saying that she's the exact opposite of everything that she has claimed to be. Now, again, I have had an issue with Lizzo's record label for a long time. I don't like the idea of a black woman being tossed around to the world in a way that fulfills a lot of stereotypes. We'll talk about that again later. And I took some heat for that. I got heat because white media, racist media, wanted to interpret that as a black man attacking a black woman. That's a narrative that they love to push in order to pursue their agenda. But I wasn't really saying that Lizzo isn't talented, that she's not a beautiful lady. I just said I don't really know why the shenanigans have to be there too. She plays the flute, so do you. She's beautiful, so are you. But I'd probably be concerned if my wife had to twerk while she was playing the flute. When white women don't have to twerk while they play the flute, white women could just show up and play the flute, and that's it. But it's like with the black woman, it's sort of like, you got to be doing these crazy things. And I'm gonna tell you, over here in Iceland, y'all need to understand. In Iceland, I was playing basketball today, and literally they were playing music the entire time. It was nothing but African American hip hop music, and it was raunchy, nasty, crazy. What the women that were rapping about their vaginas and everything else. And I said, this is kind of interesting because they don't really have a lot of black people that they see on a regular basis, but this is the image that they have of African Americans. So they're literally destroying your image worldwide, which means that if they were to come and exterminate you, which they kind of have tried to do through mass incarceration, destroying your families, putting drugs in your communities, the rest of the world would get it. They'd say, oh, okay, yeah, I know why you would kill those people because look at what they do. So anyway, I know I said a lot. What are your thoughts? I mean, do you think that there's something, to this lawsuit, or what are your thoughts? Just, I mean, I'm not a woman, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on some of this.
Yeah, I mean, okay. So another thought that I had, you know, if in fact there seems like it's systematic, it was something systematic, really toxic going on with her tour group that made a lot of people feel uncomfortable, and she thought she was having fun, and come to find out those people were not having fun. They walked away feeling violated. Then she might be in some trouble. And I'm not going to say that I really do think that we need to kind of tighten up a little bit. I kind of think that we should. I would hate for people, um, anybody. I mean, I have a dancer in the house. I would hate for her to have to go on tour and then come back and it's like, mom, it was a big mess on that tour. And it's interesting because I have a friend. There's a friend of the family who went on tour, who was a dancer for R. Kelly. And I spoke to her and I said, "What was it like touring with R. Kelly? Would you believe?" You know what she said? She said he was the best. She has danced for all different artists. Okay. She said he was the best person to go on tour with. He took care of his dancers very well. He was very respectful. He paid everybody, made sure everybody got their money, made sure everybody was actually, he kind of did overkill because they had to end the tour early because of issues. I think it was, maybe it was he and Jay-Z or
It was
something
him
was
and
on
Jay-Z.
tour.
I remember when the tour ended because
Yeah,
they had an issue. I remember that.
yeah, and I think the problem was that the people, they thought they were going on tour for the next 6 months, so they ended their lease. All his dancers and crew had nowhere to live because they canceled. You know, they were like, "Oh, I'm going to be on tour. I'm going to be on the road. I'm going to move out and not renew my lease." And so a lot of people were left homeless. And he gave them housing. He gave them housing. I mean, like
Wow.
he went above and beyond. And I mean, it's really interesting. So rumors get out. Don't think your reputation follows you around and people have these experiences. I don't know if it's gonna lead up to the experience of an actual lawsuit, but your reputation gets out and people will say, "Don't tour with him because he's gonna be a mess. Don't tour with her. She's hard to deal with. She's a diva." And so you do have to be mindful of your reputation. So I think that's what I have to say about that with
Well,
Lizzo.
well, by the way, everybody, you're watching Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. And if you could take 1 second, please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. And I want to let you guys know, I think I've earned my way to being officially shadow banned on most of these, on at least on YouTube. So it's
Really?
very hard for me to let my, 1.2 million total subscribers know when we're live. So if you want to be notified, if you want to know for sure when we go live, just hit the notification bell. Also, feel free to get on our text list. Just text the word stock to 31996. I'll send you a list of AI stocks that I love, as well as the $5 a day investing plan. Also, Dr. Alicia, you can find her website and what she does. She sees clients on a regular basis every single day. She's always seeing clients, or almost every day. And so if you'd like to learn more about what she does, just go to coachingwithdralicia.com. So Vic, you said you got the notification. Okay, great. So I think if you hit the notification bell, hopefully that will work. And y'all can let me know if the notifications go out. That way we can know what's going on here. All right, so let me read more of this lawsuit. We were talking about Lizzo and this messy lawsuit that she is in. And what I'm going to do is kind of pull up some of this and just sort of read more of this to you. The dancers allege that Lizzo criticized the dancer's weight gain. According to the lawsuit filed in Los Angeles, first reported by NBC, Lizzo allegedly pressured one dancer to touch a nude performer at a club in Amsterdam and subjected several dancers to an excruciating 12-hour audition after making false accusations that they drank while working. So I guess they're claiming that she abused them by making them do a 12-hour audition. Additionally, the suit alleges that Lizzo's dance captain, Charlene Quigley, who I guess also is being named in the lawsuit, pushed her Christian beliefs upon other performers and denigrated those who had premarital sex while also simulating oral sex, sharing lewd sexual fantasies, and discussing one performer's virginity. Wow. So this suit seems to be claiming that they were just getting kind of wild and ratchet on the tour. That it sounds to me, babe, like they here's the thing. Here's the thing that's interesting to me. How many of y'all, give me a yes or no, how many of y'all think Lizzo would be considered a raunchy performer? How many of y'all would consider Lizzo to be a person who markets sexuality? Would anybody say, that Lizzo and the way she brands herself, it kind of is in alignment with a very sexualized image? Would anybody agree? Okay. And let me just give you some more perspective. And I'm just trying to say this objectively, and I want to be objective. Lizzo was also on TikTok. TikTok is an app that attracts a lot of young people. And she was on TikTok on her knees in front of a man, pretending to do things that grown-ups do, if you know what I mean. How many of y'all think that that's, that's a little inappropriate, that's not cool, that's a little bit edgy, if you want to call it that? Give me a yes or no. All right. So the other thing, Lizzo went to a Lakers game, and y'all might remember, she showed up to the Lakers game with a thong on, and when people complained about her thong, they said, "Okay, children are here. You're in public. This is not appropriate." She then starts twerking. Right? She's twerking to kind of say, "Ha ha, I'm here. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Body positivity in your face, whatever." Okay, give me a yes if you think that's a little bit of a problem. So here's what I'm getting at. My point is that none of this really surprises me because when you have kind of a ratchet environment, a highly sexualized environment, an environment where anything goes, it's it's crazy to me that there's this lawsuit where people are saying, you know, that I was so shocked when they talked to me about sex. Well, that's all they do. All they do is sing and dance about sex. Everything's sex, with Lizzo. And that's the problem. I think Lizzo is a beautiful young woman who probably can do things other than twerk and, and all this other stuff they have her out here doing, all this buffoonery. And so the lawsuit, it's kind of crazy that we live in this world where you can go to a job every day. You know what it makes you think about, babe? It makes me almost think about like imagining like a hooker suing for sexual harassment. But you're a hooker. I'm gonna stop.
But it's permission.
Right. Permission, absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
permission.
But still, it gets blurry.
You need to have. You need to have.
Right.
You need to have a what do they call it? A word, like a word you can use when you've had enough. A trigger word.
Your safe word.
Safe word. You need to have a safe word. Like for real, have a safe word. Like if I've gone too far, talk about donuts, and then I'll know to slow it down, or to cut it off. You need something to indicate permission. And that's the thing, like people have their personal boundaries. And dance is an art. I know this because I got a dancer in the house. It is an art form. You're expressing yourself not through words, but through your body. And so there's many different ways to express yourself through your body, but when you're in a position where you don't have control over it anymore and you feel like someone is violating you in a way that makes you extremely uncomfortable and puts you in a position, and okay, these things happen, but when you use your safe word and you tell people, okay, I don't want to do this, but I'm willing to go this far, the people around you need to respect that. And if it's not like that, then yeah, it's a place of business. And and again, your reputation follows you. I mean, look what happened to Ellen DeGeneres and some of these other people who have come down on them about them overstepping their boundaries in terms of harassing individuals and making people feel terrible. I mean, dancers are excited to get a gig, they really, and so to be able to speak up and to say, I don't like this. That's tough for dancers to do because you don't want a reputation of being a whiny person that won't get on board and be part of the team. So it is a tough power dynamic when the person who's paying you, the person who's like, to put that on your resume, I toured with Lizzo, that's a big deal. And I went to Beyonce Renaissance tour, and she has a plus size woman who's up there dancing. It was beautiful to see her dance. And I remember I kept thinking, if this lady is dancing for hours and sweating, it seemed like she'd lose weight, but I don't know. It just made me think like, if I was up there dancing, I know I'd be like,
impressive when somebody can keep all that weight on and do all that dancing. And
she was light on her feet. That lady could really move. I was quite impressed. So she was very flexible. I mean, so it's a beautiful thing. And some people don't have the traditional body type for dancing. And it's okay. You can still get up there and make money, performing an art form. Dance and music is a beautiful art form, of which the rest of us as in the public can pay money to go to a concert and see people express themselves in the way that's pure about who and what they are and the many aspects of who we are. It's a beautiful thing. That's why concerts are big. People love it. I can escape from my day-to-day life and go and see this performance, and I leave from that performance feeling good about myself. So I don't want to see a performance where the dancers are being tortured and the individuals on tour are being harassed and they're stuck in a difficult place. So I think
Mm,
Lizzo has an issue on her hand, and she's not the most stable person based on what we've seen. She's been crying online, and she's had a lot of she's I think she's probably overshared. She overshares a little bit online, and so I hate to think about what she's going through now, but
mm.
she has an issue.
Well, by the way, you're watching Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I want to say I saw somebody, only Pamela. She says, "Hey, Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia, how you doing, sister? Good to see you." And Pillow Talk is where we get together and try to have intelligent conversations and fun conversations about things happening in our community. So if you are Black and intelligent and this is your thing, then you should definitely join us. And also, this podcast is on Spotify. We just crossed 1 million downloads on Spotify. What? We did this? Yes. Independent, Black owned. We fund all this ourselves. So I know some people have said you secretly get money from the Jews. No, I wish I wish we could get some of the money. But we did this on our own, and we're able to reach a lot of people around the world, and we're really happy. We're proud and honored that you are part of it. So if you want to find us on Spotify, just look up my name, Boyce Watkins, on Spotify. Also, my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, you can get a copy at drboycebooks.com. Our kids actually will ship the book to your house. We run a family-owned business, and that we got the children to work, and they're out here doing their thing, and we want to prepare them for the future. And so I hope that you will also consider doing with your own children. And also, I want to mention that my wife has a wellness retreat. She's a therapist, a licensed therapist, a certified trauma professional, and also a full professor of social work. She's doing a wellness retreat. It's digital, and she has dropped the price so much that if this is the healing that you want, this is your chance to get it at a reduced price. It's going to be August 5th. Is that right? 5th and 6th. Is that correct, babe?
That this Saturday and Sunday.
Okay,
and
this Saturday.
So much. I have been putting this together has given me so much joy. Putting it together. I sent you the workbook today. Did you see it, Boyce?
I did.
It was a draft. I'll send you the final product later on, but it's beautiful.
Let me tell you about my wife. She is a hard-working lady. like I'll literally say something like, I think it would help people if you created a workbook on this topic, and she'll have the thing done in a week. She reads 22 books a year. She works out every single day. I work out about maybe 3 days a week, maybe 4. She works out every single day. So shout out to the hardworking Black women. I have so much respect for that. So anyway, if you'd like to join the retreat, just go to draliciawellness.com. That's draliciawellness.com. So, all right, so let's get back into, so we're talking about Lizzo and this crazy lawsuit. And what I want to do is I'm going to give a few more details, because there were a couple other things in the lawsuit that kind of tripped me out a little bit. That kind of had me like, wait a minute, hold up. Because there was talk, about people going on stage and being forced to do things that were really uncomfortable. Like there was talk about one of the dancers alleges in the lawsuit. And I want to say alleged because in lawsuits, lawyers really do their best to make it look as crazy as possible. And so when Lizzo's dancers, 3 of her dancers, I think a couple of them have been fired. If I'm not mistaken, I got to go double check that. So don't quote me on that. But they are suing her and claiming harassment, things like that. And so one of the things that they talked about was a show in Amsterdam. And in the show in Amsterdam, there was discussions about being on stage and one of the dancers claiming that she was forced to I think they said eat a banana that was coming out of somebody's crotch, out of somebody's vagina. I gotta go double check that. I read it. It's like I'm remembering what I read, but it's like so crazy that I can't believe I have to be wrong. And there was talks about a security guard that they claim Lizzo pressured him to get on stage, and then started yelling, "Take it off, take it off, take it off," and he was getting spanked and whipped by somebody on the stage or something like that. And then there's something about a dildo on stage. So again, you're talking about a real low vibrational kind of thing, almost primitive, in a way, like almost like a female version of a crazy frat party, where they say things got out of hand and now they're suing. So what do you think about that? But I mean, at what point is enough kind of enough? I mean, I know that everybody's selling selling coochie these days. And am I still there? Can you hear me? I hope you can hear me.
I
I'm
can
gonna
hear you. I can
okay,
hear you.
I'm gonna have to switch
You're
out my
frozen, but I can hear you.
yeah, okay. I'm gonna pull up the other voice so that we can have a good connection. Sorry for that, everybody. But I know everybody's selling cooch these days, and it now costs like $1.95 at the grocery store. I'm one of those naive sucker simps who remembers the days where you had to earn access to a woman's body, but now apparently they've commodified it. They made it as cheap as like buying like old used tires or a bag of Cheetos, and I just really think that it feels like a race to the bottom. You know what I mean? It feels like it's like, okay, it's easy. Anybody can figure out, okay, sex sells. So let's just be raunchier than the next person. And do you feel like I feel like that's got to be so much pressure on the black women who want to be performers because it's like if you just show up with talent, that's not going to be seen or respected in the same way as if you show up kind of offering any and everything up for sale. What do you think?
Two thoughts. Number one, this is so reminiscent of Miranda Sings. Remember Colleen Ballinger when we did a pillow talk on her and all the crazy things she was doing on tour? And I was wondering, like, why was no one
Oh
checking her
yeah,
on this?
you're talking about that white lady who was literally working with Nickelodeon and was being
Yeah,
accused of grooming
she
children.
was
Yeah,
grooming. I mean, unless you can create text messages from people, like those kids are all grown up and they're making screenshots of text messages of it's clearly she was grooming, which is illegal, by the way. And she's like doing all sorts of crazy stuff on stage, which there's camera. I mean, the evidence is overwhelming against this lady. It's alleged, of course, because what do we know? But they got pretty compelling evidence that this was what was happening. Also, with
and
yet another
just in case y'all
person.
don't know, Colleen Ballinger, and we gotta update people here because not everybody knows who she is. She's a white performer who was accused of grooming children, and she's a great singer, and
She's
apparently
pretty
from
funny, and she's I call her the female Pee Wee Herman, which, by the way, Pee Wee Herman died just yesterday.
Pee Wee Herman died.
Yeah.
Oh man, all
Anyway,
right,
but she reminds you. Uh huh.
No, I said R.I.P. to Pee Wee. But
I know.
Here's Colleen Ballinger. Like she's a great singer, and if you see here, you'll see that she's gone to like the Nickelodeon Kids Choice Awards and things like that. And and there were some pretty disturbing text messages from between her and some of the kids that she, I guess, that follow her that where they're claiming that she was doing some things she shouldn't have been doing. And so back to Lizzo. So
Back to
Lizzo and
Lizzo. So it just
okay,
reminds
so
me.
wait, and then let me reiterate just as you go forward though. Those who just came in, Lizzo's being sued by I believe three of her dancers who are claiming religious and sexual and racial harassment. I haven't even gotten to the racial part. I just want to mention that for anybody that just came in. But so go ahead, babe. Sorry about that.
No, it just reminds me of like things are coming out, things that are hidden are coming out in the open, and people gonna have to answer to it. So that was the first thing I thought about, and yeah, it makes sense. I mean, we think about talent, and it also reminds me of India Irie, who's getting a lot of heat recently because she's been speaking out about some of the things that she's seeing, and people are coming down on her like crazy. And she's one of the greatest, and I'm glad she's speaking up and speaking out, but she's doing it from such a beautiful place. It's not like she's talking bad about people, talking down. She's just sharing her voice. She's sharing her perspective, and I think that's beautiful. So those are my two thoughts about about what you just talked about in the
Yeah.
article. Yeah.
So let me read more of the lawsuit. The suit names Lizzo, legal name Melissa Vivian Jefferson. How many of y'all knew her name was Melissa Jefferson? Melissa Jefferson happens to be one of the fastest women on earth. She actually ran on the world championship 4x100 meter relay team. I wonder if she knows she has the same name as Lizzo. That's just a little fun fact. Her production company, Big Girl, it's GRRL or L, Big Girl, Big Girl, Big Touring Inc. and Quigley, which is her former dance captain are named as defendants. The claims include sexual harassment, creation of a hostile work environment, false imprisonment, and interference with prospective economic damage. Not every claim was brought against each defendant. Quote, the stunning nature of how Lizzo and her management team treated their performers seems to go against everything Lizzo stands for publicly, while privately she weight shames her dancers and demeans them, etc. The suit all details an incident at an Amsterdam club. Listen to this, y'all. This is crazy. Earlier this year, in which the singer allegedly, quote, began inviting cast members to take turns touching the nude performers, catching dildos launched from the performers' hotspots, if you know what I mean. How do you launch a how do you do that? How do you launch? Let me stop.
You're having a crazy time on tour.
Yeah,
Lizzo, and we never know what you're gonna see. You see all
Elon Musk is launching rockets to Mars. Lizzo's launching dildos out of people's coochies. Okay, all right. Listen to this: and eating bananas protruding from the performers' vaginas.
That's freaky stuff.
Right. The suit says Lizzo allegedly pressured Davis to touch the nude breasts of one performer and began goading her when she refused. When Davis eventually acquiesced, the group burst into laughter, the suit claimed. Lizzo then allegedly pressured a member of her security staff to get on stage and yell, "Take it off." Plaintiffs were aghast with how little regard Lizzo showed for the bodily autonomy of her employees and those around her, especially in the presence of many people whom she employed. But according to the suit, both Davis and Williams began performing with Lizzo after they participated on Watch Out for the Big Girls, the dance competition show the singer hosts for Amazon in 2021. Williams alleges that in April, she spoke up in a meeting where Lizzo accused dancers of drinking before performances, leading to a tense back and forth between them. The day prior, Lizzo told the dancers that they would have to audition again, according to the suit, leading to an excruciating, air quotes, 12-hour rehearsal in which Davis soiled her pants because she was too fearful of losing her job to use the bathroom. I ain't even done. This is so... What jumped out at you about what I said, besides the launching dildos out of your vagina? That just never thought I'd say that on the Pillow Talk. And I apologize to anybody if you got your kids watching. Just forgive me for saying that. But it's in the article. I gotta go ahead, baby.
It just seems like there's so many people along the way that was witness to this craziness. No one pulled the plug. No one spoke up. No one said, "Hey," because she was on tour a long time ago. Right? Was it last summer or summer before last? So this is now starting to trickle out. There's got to be some people who along the way have some receipts and some evidence to say, listen, I think you're going too far, Lizzo. Like someone has to say, I'm a professional. I mean, you don't want your name soiled. You don't want your name soiled in the industry.
Why you gotta say soiled?
Pun intended, right?
Yeah, I think it's crazy. I think it's crazy, but the thing is, if Lizzo were my daughter, she's young enough to be my daughter. So I would if she were one of my girls and I was giving her advice, I would say, do what you got to do what you want to do. But I would say you must be really careful living that kind of life in a space where money is being made. And you live in the age of Me Too, right? In the age of Me Too, you cannot just let things get out of control like that, because then what happens is you come back, people circle back with lawsuits and everything else. And what people that really push the Me Too movement hard don't understand is that eventually what goes around comes around. It's not a stretch before we get to the point where all this stuff that's seen as like body positivity and women's liberation when it comes to sexuality is going to start getting called out. There are going to be men that are going. There was a black man who filed a harassment suit against a white lady he worked with because she kept talking about his big swing and whatever. And the truth of the matter is that lawsuit I don't think it would have been filed 15, 20 years ago. So I kind of think I'm trying to figure out like where. It's almost like, what it reminds me of? It reminds me of how you have rappers that will call black people the N-word all day long, rap all day about killing black people, and then will run out and scream Black Lives Matter and get offended when a cop shoots a black man. it's like you can't live in both worlds. You have to make a decision, and I think that in the Lizzo thing, it seems that they're not making a decision. They're sort of taking almost like taking the fact that sometimes when you're in that victim box, right, you kind of lose accountability. And the loss of accountability says, yeah, I can run around and do this and do that and act a fool or whatever. And if something goes down, I'm not going to be the perpetrator. I'm going to be the victim. But Lizzo's not a victim. Lizzo is a boss. Lizzo is a multi-million-dollar brand. So Lizzo has become, she's in a space where it's now you can't look around and blame men for harassment and the oppression of women and the mistreatment of women. No, they're going to blame you because you're the most traditionally masculine figure in the space, not in the sexual sense per se, but in the sense of the power dynamic. You are the big kahuna. You are the man. So when people are in that space, so here's what can happen. I've seen this happen. I mean, and that part of me kind of empathizes with Lizzo because I've seen scenarios where you fire somebody maybe because they just suck at their job, and then they go and they create a whole different narrative. I've had to deal with this, right? And I don't care. I mean, so like whatever I tell people, like say what you want to say. You know what happened, and I know what happened. But people are going to use whatever leverage they can, and so it's not inconceivable that they just got fired for something else, and they said, "Oh, but let's go ahead and check some boxes so we can go in here and do some damage." And I think that they're succeeding at this, and I think Lizzo left herself open by having such a free for all at her concert. It might be fun in the moment, but when you're talking about a space where there's lots of money, lots of legality, etc., it's not going to be so much fun when somebody's filing $100 million lawsuit on you. What do you think?
You're a leader. When you're, I mean, just like your convention, just like people who are putting on big things, a tour. Beyonce's touring right now. She's the leader of this group. And it's going to be a great tour and a great experience for the people involved in it and for the audience member when you can lead that group properly. And that means that everybody who works for you needs to feel safe. And feeling safe doesn't mean that you can't talk to them about concerns that you may have with them. Feeling safe is having open lines of communication. And I have a hunch that maybe these people didn't feel safe enough to talk to Lizzo about the concerns that they had because she seems like she was a little out of control. So I think when you're running a business, you need to be mature, and I mean emotionally mature person, where you're a good artist, but the business side of what you're doing, you need to make sure, number one, you leave it in capable hands, and number two, you're professional. You come in and you say, listen, we're going to have a good time. I want everybody to feel safe, to express themselves, to get out and have a good time, and that's what we want as audience members. I want people to get on that stage and look like they're having the time of their lives, not look afraid and worried and concerned about their job and doing the wrong thing and being scrutinized. When you're scrutinized as an artist, that kills the creativity. And I think it's a lesson for all of us to be when you're in a leadership position, and even when you're always in a leadership position, even if you have people you report to or people under you, you're always put in this leadership position to uphold yourself in the way where you have some dignity, integrity, compassion, and love for what you do and the art you're creating.
Yeah,
What I
yeah,
think.
absolutely. Well, absolutely. I kind of feel like it's it's when I see lawsuits, I see it as he say, she say. Honestly, and really
Yeah.
really a wealth lesson that everybody needs to sort of carry away with this is, when you start making lots of money, people are going to look for ways to try to take it. So Will Smith said that he keeps 8 lawyers on retainer, and that's even before he started going up on stage slapping people. And he says he has the lawyers on retainer because people just sue him all the time for any reason. You looked at me funny, you stepped on my toe, you screamed at my dog, and now my dog is traumatized. So ultimately, I would encourage everybody to kind of understand that an attorney is their job is to make money and get money for their clients, and so when they write the lawsuit, they're going to make it look as terrible as possible because they know that the public figure's vulnerability is we can try to destroy your reputation because we know people are going to just believe things because you're accused. The case with Lizzo is interesting to me because typically it's a man who's having his reputation destroyed by people that that he once helped. Remember, these women had no career before they were on Lizzo's show. Lizzo is responsible for them even having the platform that they have, and so she probably feels betrayed and angry and upset. But at the same time, though, one of the things that I definitely learned over time is when I elevate somebody, I'm giving them a lot of power, and it's almost like giving them a gun that they can turn around and use to shoot you with. And one thing I learned the hard way is not to give the gun to people who just are going to shoot you for any reason. It'd be one thing if they shot you because you really did something terrible, malicious. It's another thing if they just are the kind of person who would shoot you because you had to cut ties with them, and that's the hard part. So it's no different from a relationship. I tell guys all the time, you might be running around here, just sleeping with women or whatever, breaking hearts and not even thinking about the women you're engaging with. But at some point, if you are messing around with enough women, or it's same thing could be true for the other gender too. But if you mess with enough women, eventually you're gonna run into one who starts singing that Jennifer Hudson song from Dreamgirls. No, 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 no way. I'm living without you. I'm staying. I'm staying.
Men
You
hate
gotta
that song.
leave. Well, that
Every
song is
man I know, when they hear that song, they're like, "Oh my god, that that is not. I don't want no one ever
that's
singing that song to me."
that's a scary ass song. That's a murder suicide song. That's what it needs to be called, the murder suicide song, because it's scary as hell. When somebody refuses to let go of the relationship, but you got to think about it, right? You're a dancer and you're a big girl at the same time, which probably means you're not getting tons of dance opportunities. Let's just be honest. Even though,
Well,
shout out to the big girl dancers though. I mean, they're good. They're damn
they
good.
are
Yeah,
awesome.
you're right. And so so you get on the show and Lizzo, who is kind of the icon of this space. I mean, she is the it girl, it woman, it person of that space. So she co-signs you and gives you an opportunity. That's amazing, and then Lizzo decides, oh no, I want to part ways. I'm kind of done with you. Well, there's some people that are going to be hurt by that. And a lot of times what I will say, and this is for anybody that's in business or trying to do something big, typically the people that hurt you the most are going to be the people that are the closest. It's not going to be a stranger. Strangers, I know that in my space, strangers have a hard time getting close to me. It's actually the people that are right in my camp that you have to be kind of thoughtful about. And it's funny, my father, who is another traumatized Vietnam veteran, but he's a cop and he's very aware. His awareness is on 12. One thing he used to say to me is, you got to keep your enemies close and your friends closer. And I said, wait, don't you mean keep your friends close and your enemies closer? He said, no. He said, because it's always your friends that do you. Your enemies can't do you because you see the enemy coming. But your friend, and I've seen that happen. I saw this, and I'm gonna stop talking because I'm gonna let you talk because you know me, I can start going down my little pathway. But I watched this one thing where this mafia boss was mentoring this young kid, and the kid got really close to him, and they were really, and he got really comfortable. And one day the kid just gets really pissed off, and he violates the rule of the mafia, which is you don't cuss out and humiliate a boss. And he gets really mad. He just goes off on the boss in public and just yells and screams at him, whatever. And then the boss said nothing. He just walked away. And that's when everybody knew that he was a dead man walking. Everybody knew at that moment that somebody's going to come get him. So this kid goes off and he's scared to death about what he did. He's hiding in his apartment. He's not letting anybody in. He's got his head on a swivel. Well, guess what? What they did was they got two of his best friends, the only two people on the earth that he trusted, and they got them to come to the door, and he let them in. And they said, "Hey, can you get us a beer?" And when he turned to get the beer out of the fridge, they shot him in the back of the head. His best friend was the person that pulled that trigger, And so ultimately, I'm not saying this happens to everybody, right? But I think just for learning purposes, I think that in terms of Lizzo, one of the thif she were my daughters, I'd say, y'all are here wilding out, and a lot of things are happening on this tour that could easily turn into a sexual harassment suit. There's a young rapper that I mentor. I won't say his name, But at his concerts, it would be naked women everywhere, all kinds of craziness, liquor, sex, drugs, just all kinds of stuff. And I remember saying to him, I said, in your space, all that looks normal because that's the space that you created. That's the space you all control. But if something happens in that space, or somebody wants to tell a story about something that happened in that space, regular people aren't going to be able to relate to that. And they're going to say, wait a minute, you touched her body against her permission. Even if everybody else was slapping ass and it was just kind of the norm, it doesn't matter. If you're big, they can still sue you. It's almost like when Cosby gets sued for things that happened in the Playboy Mansion. Well, the Playboy Mansion was a wild place. Lots of things happened there. But when regular people are hearing these stories, they're just not going to get it. So you just have to be thoughtful about the environments that you go into. And that's probably what I would say to Lizzo. And I think what's interesting here is that it's a woman being sued for being the so-called abuser as opposed to the man. I haven't seen a lot of that. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe I'm just naive. But, I don't want to enter into this world concerned about whether someone's going to do me in, or thinking about who I need to bring close and who I don't need to bring close. I don't have a lot of close people anyway, but the people who I do have close, that are close to me, I totally trust them. Or they would never be close to me. Like, I wouldn't keep my enemies anywhere near me. And I don't want to live my life like that. I want to live my life authentically, with complete transparency, as much as that's appropriate enough. And that's just something that I've decided. Are there consequences to that naivety that I'm talking about? There could be, but I'm willing to live with whatever the consequences are, because I want to live in my truth. The things that are true and real to me, that's what you're going to get at all times. You're going to get all of those aspects of me at any given moment, but it's going to be true to my core. And whatever the consequences are of that, I'm willing to take it. So, Lizzo was a freak. She better own it. She's owned it. She's never said, look at her TikToks, look at all of her songs and the things that she's about. She never was about purity, like her music and nothing. She was about body positivity. She was about liberating the mammy stereotype. She was liberating the mammy stereotype and the the whore stereotype together. That's what she was living. She was living in that, and that was true to who she was, because that's all you saw that she put out there. That's her authentic self. So yeah, that's what you're gonna get on tour. It makes sense to me, right?
Well, I want to talk about some of those stereotypes of Black women, right? And really, it's interesting to me. What's confusing to me is that if you talk about body positivity, I don't see a lot of positivity with some of the imagery that's coming out in the music. In my view, body positivity will be linked to, in my view, valuing the human body, valuing women, no matter what they look like, no matter who they are, where they come from, just valuing, the fact that your body is that vessel that creates human life. That's an amazing thing. That's a miracle. That's a beautiful thing. And so to me, when you're cheapening that thing, when you're taking, a world-class, $1 million diamond, and you cheapen it to a cheap, dirty little piece of cubic zirconia, you commodify it, and to the point where it's, not worth more than a bag of Cheetos and a ho-ho. I'm not really sure how positive that is, right? I don't know how positive it is to have little girls saying, okay, I see Cardi B saying I can get money if I sell my, what. She brings on Sukihana, another rapper, who was taking pictures with Umar Johnson the other day, which we haven't talked about that. That was weird. And I guess she's another conscious stripper. I have no idea. But literally, Sukihana, her latest song was telling women, if you need to pay the rent, you should sell your body, sell your coochie, and so when you talk about these stereotypes, you mentioned that these are long held stereotypes of the Black woman. The whole world thinks the Black woman is worthless, right? The whole world thinks this, and the fact that we're supporting this imagery, I think, is a problem. You talk about the gold digger stereotypes. These have been around for a long time, right? You talked about the sapphire, the angry Black woman, right? That's the sapphire, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have, the over sexualization of Black women, and just all this imagery that's constantly thrown out there. And I just think it makes me sad, because When I look at Taylor Swift made $1 billion on her tour. Taylor Swift made $1 billion on her tour. You don't see Taylor Swift doing none of that Cardi B stuff. You don't see her doing no Megan Thee Stallion stuff. You don't see Taylor Swift doing any other Lizzo stuff. She ain't got to play the flute while twerking and simulate sucking a man's, you know what. Taylor Swift just gets up there and does what a performer does, which is dance. You know, why is it wrong? Y'all, I don't know, what do y'all think? I mean, do you think it's crazy to say that? How come a black woman can't just get up there, do like India Ari, shout out to her and all the other artists that are similar. Akila Nihonda is in that same tradition. We love Akila. She's with Rock Nation now. She's a friend of ours. Why would they look at a woman like Akila and all the goodness that she brings to the world, all the high vibrational energy, all India Ari? Why would they look at that and say, oh, that's not realistic, or oh, that's boring, or oh, we're not interested, we don't want to sign her? I think that's one of the huge failings of capitalism, because capitalism in its worst form will use racism as a way to make more money. Capitalism doesn't care about what's right or wrong. It cares about what's profitable. So BET for years was promoting things. And I still remember when R. Kelly, I called you. You and I were friends back then. I called you because R. Kelly had just, that first tape had been released back when half the public still thought that he was a good guy. And I remember BET was one of the first networks to fully embrace R. Kelly and bring him back into the mainstream. And I said, that's a huge mistake, and I'm hoping one day people come and deal with that. And they did about 15 years later. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I've talked about it before, but when I look at those stereotypes, I don't see liberation. I see oppression. And what happens if you step outside of those stereotypes? You get silenced, which is oppressive. I mean, yeah, maybe I could write a song about sexuality, but can I also write a song about, something beautiful that happened to me? Like, we're human beings. We have a big range of experiences from which we can share our gifts and talents. And how awful is it when you're just reduced down to 4 stereotypes? That's all you see yourself as. That's all you internalize yourself as. That's the only thing that's getting attention. That's it. And it reduces you down to an object. And you wonder why women are violated so much in our society, Black women in particular. It has to do with, you're not a complete whole person. You're just a stereotype, which is a lie. A lie. You're the world. It sounds like from when you're in, where are you, in Iceland? I can't remember where you are. You're in Iceland.
Reykjavik, Iceland, yes.
Yeah, that is oppressive to hear that my image of people who are important to me and people in my community who are important to me, we're only being seen across the world within these 4 stereotypes. And Black men have their own stereotypes too that they have to deal with. So it's not that I care how other people see me. I don't really care. I know who and what I am. But I want to, when I go out into this world, I know just going out into it that I'm going to be, before people can see who I am as Alicia, they're going to all of a sudden think, okay, is she one of those, or is she that way? And all of my behaviors and my actions could be interpreted in this way because they don't see me any other way. There's no range of views of which to see me other than the whore, the mammy, the sapphire, and just getting money, gold digger. I don't blame them.
Yeah. Everybody who just came in, you're watching Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. And if you want to know what topic we're discussing, we're actually talking about the use of racial stereotypes in terms of this lawsuit. We started off talking about this big lawsuit with Lizzo. Lizzo's being sued by 3 former dancers who claim that who are making interesting claims of racial and religious harassment as well as sexual harassment. If you could do me a favor, please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe if you have not done that yet. Also, Dr. Alicia is a licensed therapist and a full professor of social work, and you can actually check out her website at coachingwithdralicia.com if you want to see what she does. And also, Dr. Alicia is going to be hosting a retreat soon, a virtual retreat for those of you that want to heal. I think that healing, I think you need a doctor to get healing. I don't think you want to try to do it by yourself. There's a lot of pain out here. There's a lot of sadness, discomfort. So she's significantly reduced the price of the retreat for those of you that are on this podcast. So if you'd like to join her for this virtual retreat, just go to draliciawellness.com and you can join. So feel free to go to draliciawellness.com if you are looking for healing, if you're looking for professional help. One thing I'll say is, when I see Lizzo, and I see Lizzo on one hand, sort of taking this very strong, ferocious disposition, like, look at me, I am woman, hear me roar, and body positivity, everything else. Then the next minute I see her on TikTok crying because of the pain that she's in. That to me just kind of, honestly, it screams mental illness. It screams that maybe her mental health is not what it's supposed to be. And I read her bio back when the white media was trying to grill me, claiming that I hate Black women because I simply said I don't know if promoting obesity is good for Black people, especially given that the number one cause of death during the pandemic was obesity, right? Given so they claim they want to give you shots that they claim will help you live. Well, I say, how about we help people get healthy, and that'll help more people live. But anyway, that's beside the point. But I remember I read her bio to try to understand her experience. And what I saw was pain. I just saw pain. And so what do you think? Like, I found tremendous benefit from working with a therapist. I work with my therapist every Thursday. I've also read things. In fact, I read some stuff. I'm going to share this with y'all. Actually, I put some stuff on my Twitter. My Twitter's Dr. Boyce Watkins 1. And I literally put 5 steps to emotional, not emotional maturity, but what was it? Emotional intelligence. The 5 components of emotional intelligence. And I share that my Twitter's Dr. Boyce Watkins 1. But what do you think, babe? I mean, if Lizzo was your client and she came into your office, how would you start that conversation?
Well, I'm certain she would want to talk about the lawsuit. And, I would, of course, always process it with her. And I don't know if I want to open Pandora's box and talk about all of the different painful things that happened to her. I would probably, as much as I can, stay in the moment of what she's going through now and what it reminds her of. Maybe if it comes up, I would talk to her about, um, you know, how is it that she feels like she needs to demonstrate who she is in that way, express herself in that way? What is it about her that makes her um, act this way on tour toward people who are trusting her? I mean, when you hire somebody and they come with you on tour, they're there to help you. They're there to benefit you, and they're there. And her music is beautiful. Sometimes it's not all of Lizzo's music is ratchet. Some of her music is can be pretty positive in some ways, liberating. And you have a whole team of people who are helping you become and to show your greatness. And you take that opportunity and that power that you have, and you misuse that power in a way that was threatening to other people. What happened that you didn't connect with everybody? The best thing you could do is talk to your team and connect with them and say, what was this like? What was this experience like for you on the team? And guess what? Everybody on that team is going to walk away from that tour sharing a beautiful story about being on tour with you. I mean, you're just giving love and light to the rest of the world. And, and I would, what is your purpose in life? What's your covenant? In my retreat on day 2, we're going to be talking about who and what you are and what are some guidelines and covenant and things that are important to you. How do you define those things for yourself? And what happens when you step outside of who you think you are? And a lot of that happens because of triggers, right? You're triggered by something and you step outside of you don't uphold the principles that you think is near and dear to your heart because you're in a triggered state. And then how are you going to come back to that when it happens and repair some of the relationships that got beaten up along the way? So those are the things that we're going to talk about. And those were some of the things that I would talk about with Lizzo. If she was ever in my office, she can hit me up if she wants to. I'd be happy to talk to her. But, and this is a process that all of us need to learn from. I mean, all of us have done things. We're all not perfect. All of us have done things. It doesn't mean it has to turn into a lawsuit. you know. But then
Right.
people who are very close to you, who you love, and they get to see a side of you that's not so perfect, that's not so great. And what do you do to better yourself, to make sure that you're showing up for the people who you love, who love you, who holding you up? What do you do to keep those relationships strong? Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, one point I want to make on this, everybody, and this is something, just so y'all know, I know when the media kind of tried to go at me because Lizzo didn't take well to the remark I made about the promotion of obesity and the unhealthiness of it all. I just so you know, I didn't change my position, not one bit. I fully explained it. I made it 100% clear, and I even, just so you know about my life, I had a speaking engagement, and I'll tell you, it was with the A.G. Gaston Society in Birmingham, Alabama, and my speaking fee at the time, it was $10,000, and the speech got canceled, and I still said, I'm sorry, I don't care, because I stand by every single thing that I say, and I don't care if it's popular or not. I felt like it was correct. And one thing that I did mention is that it's very strange and hypocritical that during the pandemic they were telling everybody that Black Lives Matter and how important it is to go get this shot or whatever they were telling you to do, which by the way just made companies like Pfizer and all those other companies very, very rich. I'm not saying that's bad or good. I'm not judging the decision you made, but I just saw today that Pfizer, they're struggling right now. They're concerned because their corporate earnings were not what they were expected to be, so their stock price dropped. Do you know what they cited as the reason for the decline? They said that their blockbuster hit, or they used terms like that, like it was a big movie. The shot during the pandemic shot. That's what I'm gonna call it. I'm not gonna use the C word, but literally they said they don't have a replacement for that. They were concerned because they said we put out the shot, then we put out extra medications. That's the thing about capitalism. These corporations are under pressure to keep the party going. So they're like, okay, we got you the jab. Now you need a booster. Everybody needs a booster, right? And I'm not saying that you don't. I'm not saying that you're wrong to get one. It's up to you to make that decision. But I'm telling you that there are faulty incentives behind them promoting this sort of thing, right? And you should be concerned about that. Now, the thing with Lizzo is that's interesting to me is that they want you unhealthy. They want you unhealthy. Well, why do I say that? Well, because why, if you didn't want people unhealthy, why would you get so upset when somebody says, hey, we need to be healthy? We shouldn't go around telling people that obesity is a good thing. It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that we hate you. It doesn't mean you're a terrible person. It just means that it could cause you some health implications later. And you saw that happen during the pandemic. The people that ended up getting taken down by the Rona tend to be people that had these other complications that come with obesity. In fact, if I was to read to you all the leading causes of death of Black people, let me read them to you. This is according to the CDC. Heart disease is number one, definitely linked to obesity. Cancer, unintentional, everything that they feed you is giving you cancer nowadays. Unintentional injuries, I guess maybe car crashes, things like that. Number four is homicide. So we got to address all this killing in our community. Stop. I just think it's so crazy to me that we act like black on black crime does not exist because the politicians tell us that it doesn't exist. White liberals say don't talk about it because it's not a real thing because white people kill white people too. I get all that, but if that were the case, then white people, their homicide would be number 5 on their list too, but it's not. I don't even know if homicide is in the top 10 for white people. I gotta confirm that though. I gotta double check that. But let me see here. I'm gonna look this up. Top 10 causes of death for white people. I just Googled it, right? So among whites, okay, they said among whites, not white people. So here are the top 10 causes of death for white people. Y'all ready? Y'all want me to read this to you? All right, so here is the list. This is also from the CDC. Heart disease this is non-Hispanic, white. Now it says male, but so we'll extrapolate from that. Maybe find female somewhere. I don't think women are running around shooting each other down. Heart disease is number 1. Cancer is number 2. Unintentional injuries are number 3. Chronic lower respiratory diseases is number 4. Now, if you remember, for Black people, number 4 was homicide. So for white folks, it's chronic respiratory diseases that replaces homicide. Number 5 is stroke. 6 is Alzheimer's. 7 is diabetes. Now 8 is suicide, but not homicide.
Mhm.
Very different.
Yeah.
Next, 9 is the flu and pneumonia. Number 10 is chronic liver disease. So what I'm saying is I think it's really interesting that I really am convinced, and I don't want to make this a political conversation, but I'm thinking on processes as I read this. White liberals are just as oppressive to black people as Republicans are. It's very oppressive because what they do is they shape the context within which you're allowed to have certain conversations. They tell you, yeah, Black Lives Matter, but you can only talk about Black lives in this context. You can't talk about homicide. You can't, because black on black crime is not real. You can't talk about obesity because we love Lizzo. All of us white people love to see black people on stage making a fool out of themselves, simulating, sucking a penis, whatever they do. We love to see black men on stage rapping about killing black people. Give me a yes if you understand where I'm coming from. I hope everybody gets this. We love, because it's entertaining for us. We don't want to address that. That's off limits. And we'll go after any black man who speaks up on this, or any black woman who speaks up. So we'll go after the India Aries who speak up against the Megans, or speak up against, or challenge. No, I don't speak up against. She challenges the Megans and the others, right? So we're gonna cancel the India Aries. We're gonna cancel the Boyce Watkinses, the people that really care about what's happening in the community, so that we can elevate the Megans and the Lizzos and the Cardis and the gangster rapper, because we fundamentally dislike black people. We fundamentally believe that y'all are a bunch of low class, trashy, worthless people who really need to be dead anyway. And the only extent to which we're going to manage your slow and inevitable destruction is due to the fact that we can extract something from it. We can make money from it. We can get votes from it. We can get all kinds of white supremacist goodwill from it. But I'm telling you, black people, if you really want to have a healthy life, you got to break away from all of that. I'm done.
Yeah. What's the top 4 for black? You said 4 was homicide. What was 3? The top 3.
The top, actually,
Was heart.
For white non-Hispanic males, it looked like the top 3 might have been the same.
Okay.
Let's see. For white
Except
male,
homicide.
heart disease, cancer, unintentional injuries. For black people, it was this is for black males. Sorry, heart disease, cancer, unintentional injuries. Then it starts to split up at number 4. Number 4 for black is homicide. Number 5 is stroke. Number 6 is diabetes. Again, all this linking back to obesity. Now, for non-Hispanic white males, it's number 4, 5, and 6 are chronic lower respiratory diseases, stroke, and Alzheimer's. So diabetes is number 7 for white males, but it's number 6 for black males. We've also got some other stuff on here that white people don't have, which is kidney disease and septicemia, as well as hypertension. All these things are connected to obesity, y'all. All these things are connected. So I'm trying to understand why we're letting people out here promote this to us like that's a good thing, like that's body positivity. Ain't nothing positive about having a body that is deteriorating at a very rapid pace. There's nothing body positive about dying at the age of 42.
It's the unhealthy.
Shout out to Heavy D. Go ahead.
Shout out to Heavy D. Yeah, it's the unhealthy lifestyle that's being promoted in our community. I mean, just the lifestyle is unhealthy. And I'm not even talking about just obesity and murder and all of that. I'm talking about how we treat each other. It's so terrible that there's so many different platforms, even the ones that aren't on mainstream, media, just platforms that Black people gravitate toward. It's devastating to see how Black people treat each other publicly, online. I mean, we've internalized so much negativity about each other that we can't say anything positive or anything healthy about each other. I mean, it's like we're all, as a group of people, are just a big traumatized group of individuals, and we don't take it out on the actual people who oppressed us because we've been socialized not to. We take it out on each other and ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's true. I mean, anybody who wants to see it, I mean, what it is it's the scarcity of opportunity. It's like, it's like if you look on the internet, for example, you see so much crabs in a barrel stuff going on with like the internet influencers kind of lobbing bombs at each other and attacking each other. And a lot of that is because these are people a lot of times that never had any power. They've never actually had, resources before. So now they're fighting over scraps of money that might come from having a YouTube channel. They got a few views or whatever, and they find that the beef is profitable because people love to watch it, but it's destructive to the spirit, and so ultimately, I would say that, for those that want to kind of elevate, I think when you get into a space where the energy becomes very toxic, I just encourage you to just get out of that space. There's a young lady I mentor who has a family where they're always fighting. Somebody will stab you over $20. There's a lot of trauma, a lot of cussing, yelling, screaming every other day. I said, that's a lot of stress attached to that. Get away from that if you can. Just break away. Find a place of peace.
Is that if you don't fix yourself, you can never get away from it. You can get up and move, and guess what? It's gonna be nothing but a bunch of fighting and stuff going on, because that chaos.
They'll be fighting on the moon. The moon will get ghetto.
It's just the chaos that's inside of you. So it comes from the inside out. It doesn't go the other way.
That's true. That's true. So there you go. So I guess it's almost like if you're in the mud and you're feeling muddy, you got to get out of the mud, but then you got to take a shower so that you don't take mud with you when you go into cleaner spaces.
Clean yourself out. And no one can save you. I can't save you. I can't fix your trauma. I can give you the tools to fix your trauma. But you have to do the work yourself. Wow. Doesn't matter how much, we know it doesn't matter how much money you make or how much money you get. I mean, if you're in the mud and you make more money, it's just gonna be more mud. Money can't save you. Your daddy can't save you. Your mama can't save. No one can save. You have to save yourself.
I'm gonna ask you as we finish up this conversation. I'm going to ask everybody a question. Give me a yes or no in the chat. And please hit the thumbs up button, by the way. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. You're watching Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. This is my wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins. We believe in things like Black family, Black love, Black intelligence, and the possibility of what we can do when we make good choices and work together. Anyway, how many of you feel like you've experienced some type of trauma? And I'm going to define trauma. I know my wife can define it. I know you're a specialist at it, but I looked up the definition of trauma. The definition of trauma is, the simple definition is a deeply distressing or disturbing experience. That's how they define it here. When I first looked it up, is a deeply distressing or disturbing experience. They said the three types of trauma are acute trauma. And give me a yes in the chat if you feel like you've experienced any of this. Give me a yes if you feel that you've gone through some type of trauma. Acute trauma results from a single incident. Chronic trauma is repeated and prolonged exposure, such as domestic violence or abuse. Give me a yes if you've gone through any of these things. Complex trauma is exposure to varied and multiple traumatic events, often of an invasive, interpersonal nature. To give you one little piece or definition of trauma, it also says here, give me a yes if you've gone through this. It says trauma is an emotional response to a terrible event like an accident, rape, or natural disaster. Immediately after the event, shock and denial are typical. Longer-term reactions include unpredictable emotions, flashbacks, strained relationships, and even physical symptoms like headache or nausea. Has anybody felt some of that? So I'm gonna let my wife take over because I know you're a specialist in trauma. But I'll share a quick story. My goddaughter's with me here in Iceland, and she was telling a story about when she was a little girl in Chicago, about maybe 12 years old. She was with her little sister, and she was walking down the street on the west side of Chicago, and a black man came up and put a gun to her sister's back and said, "Don't turn around, or I'm gonna shoot your sister." And so she didn't turn around, and she was in shock, and he ripped the necklace off her neck, and they ran home after it was over with. And after that, they still had to walk past the spot where they got robbed, like every day going to school. And as she was telling the story, she started to cry. She started crying because of how scared she was and how it affects things to this day. And that's when I thought about the trauma, So tell me, based on what I just read, you're an expert on trauma. I'm not. What more should we add to that to really understand what trauma does to us and how to kind of deal with that?
Well, the thing is that you have an incident like that happening in your neighborhood, and if you don't have a nice, safe place to go home to, of which somebody cares and is concerned about you so that you can talk about it, that's when it really becomes totally traumatic, because bad things happen to us all the time, and it affects everybody differently based on your support system, the people around you who love you. If you're going home to a loving home where you can sit and talk to somebody about, I can't believe this happened to me, and someone who has a listening ear and concern for you and can hug you and give you tissue and process the whole thing with you, then it won't carry with you as deeply as it would for somebody who had nobody to go home and talk to. It stays buried within you. And so that's when it really becomes complex, when things happen to you and you don't have anybody, the people who are supposed to take care of you aren't taking care of you. So, that's what makes it very difficult. It makes it difficult for you to trust people. It makes it difficult for you to trust yourself. It makes it difficult for you to have, you have flashbacks. That's PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. A lot of people are walking around with PTSD, and you hear, 4th of July, you hear fireworks. And for a lot of people, that's a very stressful time for them. Not for others, but for some people, it could be. It could be reminding of them of the war, or reminding of them of being in unsafe neighborhoods. You never know what people are going through. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you, I'm looking at some of your comments. I think somebody asked, do you ever discuss Black male trauma? Yeah. I mean, you in your practice, you met with a lot of Black males and a lot
Yeah.
of soldiers. You talk a lot about soldiers, and I thought that was interesting because I know a lot of soldiers follow this platform, and you talked about a lot of the trauma that they went through that isn't really acknowledged, the PTSD, and how difficult it can be to kind of deal with that. So yeah, it affects males and females.
You can never even, just being in the military is traumatic. You don't even have to be in combat.
Mm.
You don't have to
Wow.
be over there. Just being in the military is very stressful for people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, if just so you know, Alicia does see clients individually and also families. So if you have some things you're trying to work through, you can reach out to her at coachingwithdralicia.com. That URL is on the screen. Also, if you want to heal and you want to go through her healing retreat online, she's got a Reiki healer and some other people coming together, some other professionals that you're working with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can go take a look at the retreat by going to draliciawellness.com. So she's steeply discounted the price for those of you that want to come from this platform. So feel free to go join. And I'm going to encourage everybody to do that healing because you all would be shocked by how many great tools there are that therapists have that can really help you process the world better. I've always been a person that was into mindset, but after I kind of got exposed to more therapist stuff, because my wife reads 22 books a year and tells me about a lot of them, I became intrigued myself. I researched these things. And so to give you kind of a parting gift today, something that's going to make your life better, I hope, I looked up maybe five steps to having emotional intelligence, because one of the things I realized is that people who are able to manage their emotions properly, they tend to have better relationships. They tend to be healthier and happier. You can get through things a little bit better. You can deal with situations better, right? So here we go. I'll put this on my Twitter page. I'll share my screen so you guys can look at it on the screen, and feel free to write this down. I think it's worth remembering this. So let me pull this up. It's not called Twitter anymore. It's called X or whatever, but still Twitter to me. The 5 rules of emotional intelligence are self-awareness, know yourself, understand your emotions and your reactions. Number 2, self-regulation, control your impulses, manage and control your emotions. So there are breathing techniques and things like that you can use so that you get in a fight with somebody you love, your cousin, your wife, or whatever, you can kind of calm yourself down. Have the awareness to know that you're elevated, and then maybe step away for a little bit so you can kind of like come back and not say something you're going to regret or do something you're going to regret. Empathy, understand others, put yourselves in their shoes. This right there is going to make you different from probably 99% of all the Americans, right? Not 99%, but I'd say at least a good 60%, because everybody thinks they're right. Everybody wants to fight. Democrats, Republicans, everybody just alienates everybody, and nobody has empathy for anybody that's different from them, or it doesn't happen as much anymore, in my opinion. Motivation, drive for success, find purpose and stay motivated. That's good for those of you that want to be successful. Figure out your why every single day. Do things like the 2-minute rule. I read about that, where they said that if you want to form a new habit, find the thing that you want to do and spend 2 minutes a day doing it. And I was like, why would you spend 2 minutes a day doing something? You can't get anything done in 2 minutes. But what it does is it creates a habit. It cements that in your brain. And then you can grow to 5, 10, 20 minutes at that point. Number 5 is social skills. Connect with others, build strong relationships, and communicate effectively. So I like this list because I like the idea of having the self-awareness, the knowledge of self. I like the idea of self-regulation. It's hard. It's so hard because you get so angry sometimes and you just want to react. And I still fight with that sometimes, but I think self-regulation just helps you avoid making big mistakes. Empathy is awesome because that's how, I don't talk about it, but that's how I connected when I married Alicia and she had 3 kids that they were like, okay, who is this dude? I know my mama loves him, but I don't like the dude. I don't know this guy. When I was trying to connect with him, I empathized. I watched them. I studied the things that they like to do, whatever they were interested in. I became interested in it. And that allowed me to form a really healthy, strong connection with all the kids. And then next, social skills, that ability to connect. I see that as being connected to the other things. Like if you're self-aware and you can self-regulate and you have empathy and that motivation piece, if you're a motivated, positive person that's beneficial to others around you,
Put the list back. Put the list back. I got
okay.
some thoughts. Sorry about that.
No problem. No problem. Yeah, I believe that you'll typically have better relationships. Like I think that people want to be around you if you are a self-aware, emotionally regulated, not some crazy person that might go off the handle and scare the hell out of everybody. So you're self-aware. You're self-regulated. That's the type of emotional discipline. You're empathetic. You want to hear people's stories. You want to connect to that. You're motivated. You're bringing positivity and energy and good stuff to the situation. People are going to want to be your friend. People are going to want to invite you to join the investment club. People are going to want to kick it with you and go to the club with you. People are going to want to date you. People are going to want to be around you, right? So I encourage everybody. This is Uncle Boyce talking. I hope it's okay. I hope I'm not overstepping here, but I'm trying to help anybody that's listening. Focus on those things, and those are the things I've seen that will lead people to want to be around you. And when good people want to be around you, that makes it easier for you to do things like make money or accomplish a goal or raise kids or whatever, So that's my 2 cents on the issue. Alicia, you have something to say back?
Yeah, I mean, all of the things in that list, those are the things that contribute to a loving home environment. Pull that list so we can see the first one. And I
Okay.
think in order to have those things, no, like I can't see number 1. Like, so
Oh, okay. Oh, number 1. Okay. Scroll down. Got it.
yeah, so that's the thing. Like you have good self-awareness when you have your primary caregiver, letting you know exactly who you are and giving you positive feedback about yourself because understand your emotions and reactions. That's what happens when you're a baby and a toddler and you have, loving individuals who are raising you to be self-aware. Some of this stuff is embedded in you. This is all of those 5 things are what is required, not only for you to have emotional intelligence, but for you to be a stable person. Is to have that self-awareness. Look at Lizzo. Where was her self-awareness? Did she not know she was injuring and hurting people's feelings? Did she not know that people were walking away from the experience with her feeling violated? That's when you don't have self-awareness. You don't understand that you've gone too far and you've overstepped your boundaries, right?
Yeah, but
Self-regulation.
I think also just out of fairness to her, it's still an allegation, right?
It
You
is
never
an
know.
allegation.
It's kind of one of those things where sometimes people get upset with each other and then they rewrite the story after it's over, and you're like, wait, it didn't happen that way. What are you doing, right? So I'm not saying that it did or didn't happen. I'm just saying maybe we don't know. But that's a good point. If it's true though, you're 100% correct, and it's certainly possible.
And also self-regulation. You're able to self-regulate when you grew up in a household where other people modeled excellent self-regulation for you. Like look at infants, look at small children. they cry and they don't know how to regulate. And you as a parent need to go over, pick up the child and hug them and hold them. You regulate for them so that when they get up, grow older, they won't have self-regulation issues. They're able to establish and maintain healthy relationships along the way. Empathy. You only have empathy for others when people showed you empathy. When people tried to understand you and they put themselves in your shoes, then you can go forward in your life with the ability to be empathetic to others because somebody was empathetic to you.
Well, you know what? I love it.
That's, and I don't know what the other two, because I don't see, what is it, mindfulness? I don't know.
The other two, there's empathy.
Motivation. Yeah, I mean, having a positive home environment where people are encouraging you and supporting you. You go forward in life motivated. Social skills for sure is based on if your parent, I mean, research has shown if your parents have really good social skills, their children usually have really good social skills. You know, it's something that you learn. You learn in your household. So a lot of it is just good home training. Good home training will make you, when you leave your household, able to process awful events. Because remember, pain you can't control. But all of the things on that list, if you have all of those things connected, then you'll know how to deal with it. Because that's just, we signed up for pain just being born. It's gonna be painful. Giving birth is painful. How about that? You know,
Wow.
that's a very painful experience.
Well, you know, I tell you what is painful is that we're going to have to go ahead and go. And we've spent 1 hour and 26 minutes and 2 seconds with you guys. I hope that this was a beneficial conversation for everyone. Dr. Alicia, her website, if you want to find out more about what she does, is coachingwithdralicia.com. That's right there. And if you want to join her for the digital wellness retreat and get a special Dr. Boyce discount for being part of this space where there's a lot of healing that's going to happen. It's digital, it's online, so you can do it all from the comfort of your home. Just go to draliciawellness.com. That URL is on the screen. And I want to say thank you to everybody. If you could hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe if you have not done this yet. And I want to say thank you also to the moderators for protecting the channel, protecting the space of intelligent Black people. Our goal is to just, create a space where we can be who we're supposed to be and not whatever everybody else wants us to be. So we're going to keep on coming at it. We're going to keep on connecting with you guys. And also you can find us on Spotify. If you look up Boyce Watkins on Spotify, you can find us there. And also you can look up Coaching with Dr. Alicia on Instagram. She's also on the gram. So take care, everybody. Have a good night. God bless you. We'll see you soon. Peace.